it. These are very simple definitions of critical thinking. It means correct thinking in the pursuit of relevant and reliable knowledge. So relevance and reliability are two important factors in deciding whether this is critical thinking. If you are thinking about an irrelevant point, then you are nitpicking, finding fault of someone. So in order to find relevant, reliable knowledge about the world, you need to be a critical thinker. It's also reasonable, reflective, responsible, and skillful thinking. The thinking which is reasonable means going according to reason, study, reflective, based on reflection, on thinking deeply, not on a quick decision, and responsible. When you think critically, you are aware of the consequences of what will happen according to your decision. And then you take a decision accordingly. Is critical thinking intuitive or learnable? Intuitive means you are born with. Are people born with the skill of critical thinking, or is it something learnable, something that has to be trained? People have to be trained on. This quotation from Vincent Barry, Invitation to Critical Thinking, 1984, answers this question. Children are not born with the power to think critically. If you remember the beginning of my presentation, it was mentioned earlier that critical thinking is not the lower order thinking, lower order that everyone needs to decide on trivial things. No. Children are not born with the heart to think critically, nor do they develop this ability on their own. Therefore, it needs awareness, and it needs training. Now, before we carry on talking about critical thinking in some detail, we need to be aware of Bloom's taxonomy for learning domains. Benjamin Bloom is an American psychologist who was asked in 1956 to make a test bank, a bank for all the questions, test examination questions in different colleges in the United States of America. And then, when he collected the material, he was surprised to find that different teachers and different colleges give completely different examinations to students studying the same material. Then he thought, why was that the situation? When he examined the situation, he found that it's because every teacher, every department has a different conception of what they want from their students, what is called learning outcomes. Learning outcome is an educational term which means what do teachers want from the students to learn? This is learning outcome. Then he thought that the educational system in the United States of America needs a reformation, a dramatic change. Then he thought about the basics for education, and then found with a group, he formed a group of experts, and they decided that there are three basic domains of learning. These are cognitive or mental skills. Cognitive means knowledge, cognition means knowledge, so cognitive domain means the aspect of learning which has to do with information, with knowledge. So what kind of knowledge do we need our students to learn? And the second is the affective, which has to do with the attitude, the student's attitude. Students may not like what they are studying. or may not think that what they study is relevant to their life or will be useful to their life. And then the psychomotor domain, mainly area, field, which has to do with physical skills. What kind of skills do learners need to gain from a particular discipline they are studying? So again, three domains of learning are cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Cognitive has to do with knowledge, affective has to do with feelings, attitude, experience, and psychomotor has to do with the skills. Fourth, Benjamin Bloom and his colleagues created this pyramid of learning skills or levels of study, but please read it from the bottom. Remembering is the minimum requirement. Our students are required to memorize, to remember what they study. Memorization. I think you must be familiar with this. Then understanding is the second level. When they study, it's not enough that you save knowledge, information in your mind, but you need to see the significance of it, what it means, so that it might be ready for use whenever you need it. And then application is the third level. Application is what to do with what you understand from information. So you have information, you understand it, and now what you do with this. The three levels at the bottom are called lower order thinking. There are three levels of lower order thinking. That's to say they are the minimum requirement of education, perhaps at a particular level. Bloom and his colleagues found that this is never enough, and students have to proceed into the three levels of three more levels on top. The next level after application is analyzing. Why do you analyze? Analyze means cut a big thing into smaller parts. Why? To look at each part and piece in order to understand it carefully. Just like a scientist will take a cell from the body of a human being or of an animal in order to examine it and see the features of it, and whatever this implies in studying and dealing with that pool of the animal or of the plant. That's analysis. And also implied with analysis is synthesis. Synthesis is the opposite of analysis. S-Y-N-T-H-E-S-I-S. Synthesis means putting small things together to make a whole picture of the details. After analyzing something to see the detail, you need to put things back together in order to see a holistic picture and see what you can do with this. And then evaluating is a very important level, one of the three levels of higher order thinking. Evaluating means once you analyze and understand deeply. Analyzing is a way of understanding, but this is deep understanding based on evidence. Once you analyze it, then you need to evaluate the knowledge that you have gained and see what to do with this, or whether this is useful, this is useless, can be useful in some cases and useless in other cases, and so on. Waiting what you study, waiting what you have gained. And then the last level, which was added later on, was called the revised taxonomy. Revised taxonomy because this was not in the early taxonomy by Bloom and his colleagues in 1956. Later on, someone called Crosswell looked at Bloom's taxonomy and made a revised. Look at the title in white and black. See a revised edition. The revised edition includes creative. Creativity is a very important element in the revised Bloom's taxonomy So we have three at the bottom, called lower level, lower order thinking, remembering, understanding, applying, and the three at the top, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Now, this is more detailed when they wanted to put, they decided to ignore the examination for a while because the problem was not the examination, was the concept of learning itself. So they decided to look at the lower and higher order thinking and divide them into manageable processes or activities that can be applied in classrooms, and therefore if you have a concrete item to teach, then you have an accurate way to assess it or to evaluate it. If you don't know what exactly you are evaluating, then you're likely to mess up or the exam, or sometimes the assessment is a big failure because the examiner, the person who is making assessment, doesn't know exactly what he or she is assessing. A good example is the assessment of translation, as it is still practiced most of the time in our situation, our educational system. The teacher perhaps take a quick look at the translation and then decide this is good, very bad, excellent, very bad. What are the specific items that you are assessing? Are you assessing the meaning, the structure, or assessing the original composition, or assessing the style, and so on? Then there have to be specific items in the mind of the person evaluating or assessing something in order for them to come out with an accurate evaluation. So remembering was divided into two levels of recognizing and recalling. To recognize something is to be able to identify it when it is presented to you. Like one choice question. Bloom's taxonomy is about one of the Bloom's, and we can give you an example. One of Bloom's domains is cognitive, psychological, emotional, and so on. Then you recognize that cognitive is one of them. This is recognition. You recognize it, you see it and detect it. And recalling is just like if you are asked what if you can say it, can repeat it. Apparently these two levels are limited within the area of remembering. Second level of understanding may include interpreting. To interpret, to be able to explain something, to say it in other words. Exemplifying, giving examples, classifying means if you understand something, you can put it into different types, subtypes. Summarizing, you can take a detailed text and put it in smaller size by keeping the most important point, the key points. Inferring, that's to if X then Y, that what you infer from this, what conclusion you come out with when you read something or when you see something. And comparing, looking at two things together and see what's similar and explain. These are different levels of understanding. These should be included when you talk about understanding. So when a teacher is teaching, the teacher will make sure that his students can interpret it in the parts, right, etc. And when an examiner assesses, then he or she has to make sure that they are evaluating some or all of these subtypes of understanding. The third part of application includes executing, so that is to carry out something, implementing. To execute means someone has the idea, but you just put it into practice and implement your idea, and you start to use it in real life. Third level, starting from the fourth level, we now come to higher order thinking. So, if you are studying within these three levels of remembering, understanding, and application, you are still lower order thinking, believe it or not. That's perhaps surprise. Was surprise to me. Higher order thinking means that you can analyze and differentiate that